Now, today, our tip of the week I'm going to go through is creating daylight and view studies. And the way this works is first, there's a couple of ways, of course, that you create daylight and view studies as part of the LEED or sustainable design requirements. One that people use quite often, which really doesn't require a lot of high-level knowledge, is doing sun studies. Sun studies are created using our camera tool or perspective projections or parallel projections. Typically, people take and put a camera onto a plan from a viewpoint where they're going to create a sun study projection, and then they define how that's going to look. They then go into their project location settings if they haven't already done this, and set up, which is open by going to your options menu and project preferences. And then once you open up that project location information, you can set not only your name and site address, but also your latitude, your longitude, what city it is in the world, your time zone, your altitude from the sea level, and your project north. This is really important because this allows you to set the specificity for where you are in the world, which of course will then be able to give you accurate interpretation of your sun setting. And you can also show that in Google Maps as well. Once you've created that information, we can then go into our sun study options and be able to create a sun study. To do that, you go to your document menu and to create imaging, and then open up or select create sun study, and then this dialog will open up. When you generate a sun study, you can generate that using the 3D window or the photo rendering window. You define what time of the year. You just find, is it from sunrise to sunset? And then also, or even more specific actually in terms of the time of day. If you're going to do a movie, you can define all frames, or actually use this also to save out images, because not only can you do a movie, I can change the result here to be images that are saved out, which a lot of people will use for documentation for a LEED type study. And you've also got some rendering formats and compression formats as well. As we were just discussing, you can also use this to create schedules for daylight analysis as well. We could go in here, we could create a daylight schedule for daylight and views area calculations of spaces, surface areas of glazing, or areas without direct view. And this is the kind of information that I can pull from this for this daylight view analysis. I can pull space ID, the space name, its space area square footage, the glazing area square footage, your type of glazing. These can be properties that can be added in, as well as your TVIS and other information here as well. From the documentation side, I can use the floor plans to evaluate sightlines. That's again another part of LEED analysis, right? Is to be able to evaluate sightlines. And of course, I can use the model to draw lines of sight to the perimeter glazing, which is what these are showing with the red and green. The zones can be used to show without direct line of sight to perimeter glazing. That's where the red's showing. You can also use the building sections, again, to do a section through the building and then show information for sections showing views at 40 inches above finished floor. So all this can also be developed directly out of the model as part of your documentation. And then again, as I was just mentioning before, not only can we do surface area glazing, we can also do area calculation of spaces for area calculations by room or without direct view. And again, using our schedules, we can then set up a spreadsheet to kind of manage that information that we then derive from our model for room ID, names and areas without direct line of sight to perimeter glazing, horizontal view, and your compliant area. And then finally, as part of this tip of the week, is the ability to use daylight and light simulation analysis using what's called IES profiles. If you're not familiar with this, IES stands it's part of the digital photometric data format. It's kind of a standard. It stands for Illuminating Energy Society. This is kind of the standard out there for creating what are called light shapes and forms. So if you want to bring in, for example, into ARCHICAD, we have an IES object in ARCHICAD as part of the light or lamp tool. And you can actually assign IES information to lights and lamps in ARCHICAD now, which is really quite powerful. And those lights, when you do that, you can go to a website such as the one I was just showing earlier, like the iesna.org, or to specific manufacturers' websites, and you can download shapes of different types of lights and lighting that you might be using. And then when you do that, it then will, when you import that ARCHICAD, it's going to show different characteristics of that light in terms of how that light illuminates below, direct and spot, in the cases of spots, or illuminates it more globally in the room, depending on how the light's been set up. You can also use the IES for daylight and lighting studies. VLUX is a software that you can purchase that will do analysis for color imaging. This is a great one for kind of looking at, what is the energy coming in the room from the sun and from other lights in the room, and how is that affecting your space. You could also use radiance. This is from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. You can go here to radsite.lbl.gov/radiance/home. And this can be used, radiance can be used also to do color imaging, but it also can be used to do illumination contours, as you can see in this particular rendering, where it shows, again, where the yellow is the light coming in, and as it fades off to the edge, that light is less intense.